Which now leads us to Aaron Rodgers. What's what if you're summing up what happened in the last week and where we are today, Monday morning at 9:36 Eastern, how would you do that?
Obviously this has been in the works for a while. Aaron Rodgers has been unhappy. I think it dates to last year's draft where they drafted his successor. And evidently did not tell him that they were drafting his successor. And so with that being the case, the interesting part of this, Dan, going forward, I think this all just didn't happen in the last year. I think this is me just simply reading the tea leaves. I've not talked to Aaron Rodgers, so I can't say this for sure. But in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers has to be feeling like, look, the Packers have been doing business the same way since Ron Wolf took the job 30 years ago. And that is general manager picks players, coaches coach players, players play football. And that's it. Okay. Like, I don't know this, but I mean, would Brian Gutekunst or would the coaches ever like call him in and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think we should do? Or what do you think of this practice squad player or whatever? And I just don't think that happens. And I think he's got some of the same frustration probably as Russell Wilson has. Listen to me. I'm out there. I'm the guy who is sort of the titular head of this franchise that as I go, so goes the franchise. Talk to me, consider me. And it's just not the way the Packers do things. And I don't know that they're going to change, Dan, and I'm just telling you, this reminds me so much of exactly what happened 10 years ago with Carson Palmer. He told the Bengals, I'm not playing for you. He had played there 7 years. I'm not playing for you anymore. I'll retire. Yeah, sure, you'll retire. Then he retired. And the Raiders called the Bengals that October after Jason Campbell got hurt and said, we want to make a trade for Carson Palmer. And they did it. And so this wouldn't surprise me. As you know, Aaron Rodgers is very strong-willed. And if he feels in any way like he's been wronged, I just think he's gonna hold his ground.
And when we talked to Rodgers a couple of weeks ago, and I said, take me back to that draft night. And he said, look, I'm watching just like you are, and I find out we're drafting a quarterback. I think in a situation like that, Pete, I don't think quarterbacks should be involved in drafting because they don't know anything about this. But also, unless it's Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and you go, okay, I trust your instincts. Free agency, you played with a guy, you want to bring in Gronk, Antonio Brown, Tom Brady. All right, I'll give that to you. But if you're going to draft a quarterback's replacement, then I think you at least have to say, I don't want you to be shocked, but
right.
Like, that's all. That's a courtesy that I think that he has earned in Green Bay. He doesn't have to be involved in personnel decisions, but when you're drafting your successor and you're sitting there having a drink and all of a sudden the Packers are on the clock and they draft your successor, to me, that's a slap in the face.
I agree with you. And if that's exactly the way it happened, I don't agree with that. You shouldn't handle things that way. And look, deep down, maybe some in the Packers would say, good. It stuck a little cattle prod up his rear end, and he had maybe the best year of his life. He certainly had one of them, and he was the MVP. But still, I don't want to motivate people by that way. I think you've got to be upfront with guys who've been so great and so valuable for your franchise.
Is Aaron Rodgers the starting quarterback for the Packers week 1?
My bet would be no. I mean, I don't see it. I just think this is going to get particularly ugly. There's not going to be any media people who are going to have any vacation between now and Labor Day weekend. Sorry, everybody. And I just think if at some point, I think Green Bay's might have to come to the realization that they're either going to be playing Jordan Love, or if they think he's not ready, they got to go find somebody. Maybe they look, I mean, how in the world could this ever happen? But maybe they look 3 hours south and look at Nick Foles, who seems to be a man without a country in Chicago. And how crazy would it be if Nick Foles outduels Andy Dalton early in the season in a Bears-Packers match? I don't know what'll happen, but
who would be in line for Rodgers? Like if you know Gruden loves any quarterback that's not his quarterback, but
look, I think Gruden. I think Gruden. And I don't know how they could do it. I think Gruden would love to have Aaron Rodgers throwing a Julio Jones this fall. And again, I don't know how they can do it or what they would do, but I just think if I'm looking at it, I think the Packers would probably consider an AFC team because they don't want Aaron Rodgers ruining their dreams until the Super Bowl. So, Denver seems to make sense. And the Raiders seem to make sense. And obviously there's a bunch of other teams, but if you're Aaron Rodgers, and if you're the Packers, you like to find a team who looks at Aaron Rodgers as the missing piece to really get us over that hump. Those are two teams that really stick out, even though, Carr is certainly not a totally expendable guy. And the other thing you look at, Dan, is what could they trade? I mean, I think getting Derek Carr back would be pretty good, and maybe the next 2 ones from Vegas. I don't know how exactly they would make a trade like that, but they would have to give, I think, Derek Carr in something pretty significant.